Well, hello there trainers, greetings, Kuroblitz here, and welcome back to another video. As we know all too well, Ash Ketchum had adventured throughout many years, throughout many regions of the Pokemon world, and therefore had caught and befriended many species of Pokemon throughout the way. However, I would like to imagine if something different was to have happened, and that includes one particular character from the Journey series of Pokemon anime, that being Go. As of today, Go had caught 114 species of Pokemon, being 37 short of 151, totalizing into the index number of Mew. He caught several species from all the regions and all the types, and I would like to imagine how it could have been if Ash's adventures was to have met some of these Pokemon, and how would have he befriend him and utilize them in battle throughout the course of this journey. So this is the topic I want to introduce you today, trainers, my new What If series of what if Ash had caught Go's Pokemon throughout his adventures from Kanto to Galar. Without further ado, let's get started. We are beginning when all adventures do start, and that is the Kanto region, and I would like to imagine for Ash to have caught this specific Pokemon. He is going to start out with a Pikachu as well, but this time, like Go's, it's going to be a female instead of a regular male Pikachu, to spice things up a little bit in terms of the narrative. With that being said, Ash's Kanto Pokemon are going to be Fearow, Dewgong, Primeape, Marowak, and Beedrill. I'm going to add a personal rule here. When it comes to Ash's caught Pokemon that he had shared with Go, he's allowed to capture the species that Go caught and evolve them, but he cannot caught the evolved species a priori or even the pre-evolutions if Go didn't caught them. And as for my second rule, he cannot have repeats of Pokemon if they are two for the same team. He's allowed to have one repeat for a team, but not two repeats for teams, and this is where you are going to see more into the later future. Now, for Ash's Pokemon in the Kanto region, these are the ones that I would like to imagine, and I do feel like they have a great potential, with Fearow echoing that of Pidgeotto and Pidgeot, Dewgong being the Squirtle and Kingler to some extent, and Marowak being, the level-headed like Charmander, but also, having the leadership of Bulbasaur. This is very fitting. As for Primeape, it's basically what if they stuck around for the long run. And Beedrill, it's going to be the Butterfree equivalent, so instead of Bye Bye Butterfree episode, we have a Bye Bye Beedrill episode. Maybe they do return in Journeys with a potential Mega Evolution, but that will be a story yet for another time. Now, instead of going to the Orange Islands, I'm going to have Ash go to the Sevi Archipelago for this region. This is the region where Ash is going to catch his extra Pokemon, his reserves for Oak's Laboratory, to parallel even more the Kanto saga of the anime. And these Pokemon, besides his partner Pikachu, are going to be Nidorina, Hypno, Dugtrio, Raticate, and Parasect. I do see a lot of potential in these Pokemon. For example, I can imagine Nidorina being like Bulbasaur, where she would refuse to evolve and probably have a rivalry with Gary's Nidoqueen and probably Nidoking too, or probably, rival Nidoking that it will be Silver's or even Giovanni from the Legend of Thunder special. But I would like to imagine, Ash having a Nidorina, which kinda, parallels Gurumin and Dot's alter ego of, Nidoting, and I think it will be very cool. As for Hypno, it gives Ash a great Psychic type to battle. I can see this Hypno using a versatility moveset of also having a lot of Dark type moves because it's Hypno, or even fighting types because it kinda looks like a martial artist. If you see the TMs of this Pokemon, it can learn a lot of fighting type moves. Dugtrio will be a ground type, pretty much like Marowak will be like a gimmick Pokemon like Muk or something, and Raticate is here because, Gary doesn't have Eradicate in the anime like he has in the games. As for Parasect, I think Ash would actually need a grass type during this run. Not a fire type per se, but a grass type would be very fitting. And I can see Parasect being a Pokemon that parallels Kingler in terms of, effectiveness, in terms of how it looks, but it also parallels Snorlax. Instead of just always being asleep, it would induce people to sleep with Spore. This would probably be how Ash gets, his first win in the Kanto preliminaries, because of the sleep clause effect, because the anime doesn't follow the stadium rules. Continuing with Stadium and how things had continued, this is going to be the Johto region. Now, these are the Pokemon that I can see Ash capture in the west of the Indigo Plateau, and those Pokemon are going to be Blossom, Politoed, Furret, Mismagius, Heracross, and Aerodactyl. And his Pikachu is going to evolve into a Raichu. In this timeline, in my headcanon, if Ash had caught Ghost Pokemon, he would have a Raichu after the Sevi Islands. This is something that I would like to imagine. Now, as for his other Pokemon, Blossom is here because Go caught an Oddish, Politoed is here because Misty is going to utilize other Pokemon, and this is coming from an Poliwag egg, like a little tadpole egg. This is going to be Ash's egg Pokemon for the run. Instead of, Cyndaquil and Quilava, he's going to, have a Furret, and since Cyndaquil evolved the Sinnoh League into Quilava, I'm gonna have Ash catch a Misdreavus, and he becomes a Mismagius during the end of Diamond and Pearl. I think this would be very fitting, especially battling Nando with contest moves and all of that musical rhythm stuff. It would be very great. Heracross is here, and it's going to have a lot more usage, like how Primeape is going to have. As for Aerodactyl, since Johto doesn't have any fossils, I wanted to, focus on this particular fossil, because I can imagine Brock with Kabutops and Misty with Omastar. And that leaves Ash with an Aerodactyl from the Ruins of Alph, and it's going to be very disobedient like Charizard. However, it's going to clutch on a battle against Claire in Blackthorn City Gym. With that being said, let's continue to the region of Hoenn. And this is something very interesting because Go did caught a great roster of Hoenn Pokemon, and these are the ones that I want to give Ash, being Absol, Dustox, Flygon, Camerupt, Pelipper, and Hitmonchan. Now for these Pokemon, Absol is going to be instrumental in the Aqua and Magma villain plot. It's going to alert Ash, May, Max, and Brock of a lot of troubles and a lot of dangers. Ash is going to be the one getting Dustox, and May is still going to have Beautifly. So I feel like Jessie, because Drew has Masquerain, I feel like Jessie could have a Ninjask, and with that, James would have a Chindinja. I think that would be very cool. We get Flygon, so Ash can still catch the whole family line from Trapinch and actually be able to command this dragon. Probably have a rival that has a Salamence, who knows. And he's going to capture a Camerupt off rip. He's not going to catch a Numel and evolve it. It's going to catch a Camerupt off rip. It's going to have a particular battle style very similar to that of Torkoals. And instead of Tailo to Swallow, he's going to get a Wingull and become a Pelipper, and it's going to be, the other regional bird of the Hoenn region. Now for Hitmonchan, Go caught the Hitmonchan as is, so I cannot have Ash get a Tyrogue egg in Johto and evolve into Hitmonchan like how Phanpy became Donphan. So Ash is going to have a Hitmonchan, probably from the fighting dojo of Saffron City, and I guess that this could mean that, maybe May or Brock could have an Hitmonlee. I think it would be very cool. So this means that Ash in Sinnoh, he's going to use this Hitmonchan to battle Barry's Hitmonlee. So I really do enjoy it. I wanted to give a Kanto Pokemon for, the circuit of, the region. Maybe he goes to the Orange Islands this time around, or maybe instead of Sevi, like how I stated prior, he goes to Orange and he battles the 7 facility heads of the Battle Frontier into the Sevi Islands. Continuing on, let's go to the Sinnoh region, and now this is something that's going to be extremely tricky because Go's only caught Pokemon in the Sinnoh region was a Mantike. They went to Sinnoh for a lot of plots and a lot of reunions, but Go didn't caught Sinnoh Pokemon, even though this was the remake era of Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, and Legends Arceus. Ash has two Sinnoh Pokemon in journeys, being Riolu and Lucario. Gohan has Mantike. So I needed to be a lot creative with the Go team that I would give for Ash during this circuit. And those Pokemon are Altaria, Weirdeer, Honchkrow, Scizor, Hisuian Typhlosion, and Lilligant. I had to cheat here and give Ash mons that go caught in other regions that do still appear in Sinnoh in some way, shape or form. I decided to have Altaria and Scizor because they are part of the Platinum Pokédex. Weirdeer and Typhlosion are here because of Legends. I decided to give Ash a Lilligant because it's going to be a hint for the Unova series for Pokemon Black and White, but it's not the Hisuian one. Actually does actually catch this one as a Petalil and becomes a Lilligant, similar to how Turtwig became Grottle, so there is no Torterra situation here. And as for the other Pokemon, I feel like this roster is very unique, very colorful. It doesn't really feel like a Sinnoh roster, but I would like to, promote the whole cross evolution thing that Sinnoh had going on for them in Diamond and Pearl. Instead of Starly to Staravia like 12 episodes later and then Staraptor 100 later, I'm just going to give Ash a Swablu that will probably return with him. It's going to be like an Apom maybe, I'm still deciding on that. It could be an Apom situation where he gets Swablu, becomes an Altaria, and then gets traded with Dawn. For all that we know, maybe that's why he has a Scizor. Maybe Dawn caught a Scyther and Ash gets a Scizor and it battles Maylene's Lucario in a steel match, like very Pokken-ish. I think it would be very cool. And the main flyer, I feel like, it will be Honchkrow, because Go caught a Murkrow, so it will be like the Gligar parallel. This means that Gary would give a Dusk Stone instead of, a Razor Fang. And as for Weirdeer, I feel like, Stantler would, be a Pokemon that has the temperament of Weasel, but learning Psychic Barrage, I don't recall if that's the name of the move or not, but learning that move of evolution, it would be like how Gible learned Draco Meteor throughout the time. Sadly, it didn't become a Gabite even though it should have, but alas. Now, as for Infernape. Infernape's story, it's going to be the fact that, it's going to be given to this Hisuian Typhlosion. I'm going to have Paul's journey run to be Hoenn, Kanto, and Johto, while Ash's was Kanto, Johto, Hoenn. That way they don't cross paths, and that means that, Johto being the last region that Paul visited before returning to Sinnoh, it makes sense why he caught an Ursaring in the Bewildered Forest upon returning, and that's why he has a Cyndaquil and an Elekid. And also Sneasel to Weavile, and then instead of his own Murkrow, that's how Ash's got. This means that the Blaze ability would be, Cyndaquil trying to, get the fire on his back going. And upon evolution, because of Giratina messing around with the Sinnoh region, Ash would get Hisuian Typhlosion, and the Blaze ability would be, the Spectres of Giratina. The move Infernal Parade would be learned for the final battle against Paul's Electivire, like how Flare Blitz was for Infernape. So the whole Blaze arc, it's going to be this Spectral Flames, this Infernal Parade of Typhlosion. And I guess this means that Dawn would get Chikorita instead, and maybe Brock would get Totodile for the Heart Gold and Soul Silver arc. I don't know, that's just an idea. But this is the team that I was thinking for Ash in Diamond and Pearl, and I really hope that you guys are enjoying these Pokemon that I'm giving to Ash. It's very difficult to pick and choose of all of Go's 100 plus Pokemon that I would like to give to him and how I can imagine Ash utilizing. The philosophy that I have very personally is that there is no such thing as an Ash Pokemon. A Pokemon becomes Ashes the moment they get attached to him and he makes them shine. There are a lot of Pokemon that he caught throughout the years that we never believed that he would have had, then he had, and he made it work. And that's the beauty of his character. The whole point of being a Pokemon Master is that he can work with any Pokemon, being his own or someone else's. And I feel like this video is what's embellishing that someone else's aspect. So thank you so much for the support, and let's continue with the journey, now going abroad to the Unova region. And for Unova, Ash has some interesting Pokemon to work with, those being Simipour, Golurk, Darmanitan, Ferrothorn, Gigalith, and Durant. For the sake of simplicity, I decided to, not have Ash use reserves or rotations. That way, he's very more streamlined in this scenario. And there are Pokemon that do feel a certain niche. And then again, since he caught a Roggenrola and a Boldore, and so did Go, I decided to combine both and have Gigalith around. I could have given him a Crocodile again, because Go caught a Sandile, but I want for Gigalith to actually be the ace of this hypothetical Unova team. And this means, he still has a Grass Fire Water Core, with, the two monkeys and the trap Pokemon being Ferrothorn, and I think this would be very interesting for him to utilize. Instead of Leavanny, he would have, Durant as his bug. And in terms of other powerhouses, I feel like combining all of those aspects into Golurk, it would be very interesting. I feel like these Pokemon could have amazing battles. And let me know what you guys would like to see from these Unova Pokemon, what movesets would you like to give them. I don't really see much parallels to the actual Unova team. I just decided to pick the ones that Go caught and I thought they were cool. For all that we know, I can see a mini arc where Silent joins Ash because Cress quitted being a gym leader of water since Marlin is one in Humilao, and the Striaton gym becomes fire due to Chili, and maybe due to Team Plasma liberation plans, maybe the Pampar that was, Cress's becomes Ashes. I think this would be a very cool idea. As for flying Pokemon, instead of Unpheasant, you would get, when Golett evolves to become Golurk. I think this would be a very interesting scenario. Now, continuing to the Kalos region, this is one set of Pokemon that I do find very enjoyable. Those being Talonflame, Florges, Barbaracle, Trevenant, Diggersby, and Vivillon. Now, as for Vivillon being the final one, maybe Ash meets this Pokemon as a Scatterbug in the Decolor Archipelago, probably around the time where he meets Alexa too, so this Vivillon would not stay for the long run, or maybe it will. It's like a Butterfree done longer, not right or better, because we have a Beedrill in this scenario, so that's the one I would like to imagine. I really love X and Y episode 12, because Ash got, this pattern of Vivillon, that's the Japanese one, so it makes sense because he's Japanese. Instead of Goodra, I feel like Ash would, bond with a Flabébé, and then he would become a very powerful Florges, and in the wetlands, Goodra is the one menacing, so you need to train the fairy to outrank the dragon. It will be a very role reversal. Instead of the Bond bond that Hawlucha and Noivern had due to being flying types, I'm going to do that with, Barbaracle and Trevenant, because they are very humanoid looking, and I like to imagine, a Binacle and a Phantom, being all cute and together. I feel like, these Pokemon would benefit a lot. When it comes to Diggersby, I feel like it will benefit more being with, Ash instead of Clement. Bunnelby is fine with Clement, but if you are going to evolve them, you need to make it a Diggersby, and I feel like, this would be a very powerful Pokemon for Ash, because from all of this count that I'm doing, I'm probably giving Ash a total of 50 Pokemon. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below once this video ends. And now you might asking, Go caught a Froakie and a Frogadier, so isn't Ash going to get Greninja? Well, no. The Pokemon that I'm giving Go here, they are all, Pokemon that, besides Diggersby, because he caught a Bunnelby in the Darkest Day of Galar, which was weird, but that's besides the point, all of these Pokemon were caught in the opening act of the Karina fight. So, I want to have Ash to still keep his Talonflame, but Talonflame is going to be the one Pokemon that's going to activate Battle Bond. We are going to have a Battle Bond Talonflame. Instead of being, human looking, Ash is going to have a lot of peripheral vision by, seeing Talonflame's, vision from the sky, and their heart rates not being in sync, it will make sense because bird human, even though a frog beats 3 times faster. Maybe the battle bond was supposed to be given to Infernape, but that's another thing. But yeah, for Kalos, Ash is going to have a Battle Bond Talonflame. It's going to have rainbow colors like OO. It's going to be a OO blessing in some way, shape, or form. Since Ash Greninja in France, it's called Sasha Nobi, from Sasha, Ash, and Enfanopi Greninja. I feel like this one should be called Talonflash. I feel like Talonflash would be a great, quote-unquote name for Battle Bond Talonflame. Or maybe instead of it could be Satoshi Fayaro, so it would be like Satoshiaro. Satoshiaro. Huh. That's a thing, I suppose. Anyways, let's continue to the region of Alola, the tropical paradise that it is. Now, I'm going to cheat in here again. In some aspects, I'm going to give Ash a Passimian, and that's going to be his ace Pokemon. And I'm also going to give him Alolan Executor, Alolan Ninetales, Shiinotic, Mantine, and Phalanx. I feel like these are very great Pokemon. Instead of having Lycanroc as the ace, I'm going to make it Passimian, a Pokemon that Ash should have also caught. So he is going to have 2 grass types here, the Grass Dragon of Executor and the Grass Fairy of Shiinotic. That way Ash can be more in touch with nature. He's going to get a Mantike and becomes a Mantine due to the surfing mechanic, and he's going to have Ninetales this time around. Maybe this is going to be an Alola that follows more of the angle of the games, where they do a pilgrimage. I can imagine, for example, they actually do a pilgrimage, and maybe Lily has Nebby, who in this timeline will become a Lunala instead of a Solgaleo. I think this is something cool to work with. As for Phalanx, it would have the same fate as Eevee for Lana, like being stranded in a box, or maybe several boxes, and Ash would have to find them around like how we do with Zygarde cells. And it's a cool Galar hint. It kind of works like how Melmetal was a hive mind when they were all Meltan. I think honestly you can do that, like instead of you can combine the Nagisa subplot with the mystery box subplot, and you have Phalanx, a very powerful unit. I feel like having the Roman Pokemon battling the Greek Chimera that it's Silvally, I think it's amazing, and they know first impression like Guzma's Golisopod. So there it is. And speaking of Galar, I would like to imagine for Ash's Journeys team to actually be something very interesting. He's a champion, he gets scouted for the World Coronation Series or even the Champions League. He would already be in the Masters 8. However, now that the world is gunning at him, champions and elites included, they know his battle record, they know his history. So the best way for him to prepare is to basically create a brand new team that no one is expecting and no one can get a read-through. And that is going to be his Galar team for Pokemon Journeys. Those being very iconic Pokemon that go caught. Ash in Galar is going to have Alcremie, Greedent, Cinderace, Inteleon, Rillaboom, and Eternatus. This one just being for the Darkest Day plot, there is no reason to keep it. I cannot give it Regieleki because we have Raichu here already. So, with that being said, I feel like Ash for Galar should have Alcremie because he had bonded with one with Opal. Greedent, it's very gluttonous Pokemon like Ash himself, and therefore the 3 Galar starters. During the course of this video, the only starter he had was a Cyndaquil, and it wasn't even his originally to begin with. So I feel like Ash using these 3 starters and battling Leon's game team, so Aegislash, Seismitoad, Rhyperior, maybe Leon could have like some anime originals like for example Zarude, Hisui and Samurott. I think those could work. I feel like those could work. Continuing on, as an extra for Pokemon Horizons, I decided to give Ash a Paldea team. Now, Go didn't caught any Paldean Pokemon, but other people have, so I want to give Ash a hypothetical Paldea team if he's to show up in Pokemon Horizons. In that Horizons timeline, that is, he would have Pokemon that other characters do have. Those being Diana's Squawkabilly, Cedian's Garganacl, Molly's Mousehold, Ametio's Cerulege, Dot's Tinkatink, there will be a Tinkaton by this point, sorry, and the Zygarde 10% of Gibeon. This is a very weird team. Don't count it if you don't want to, but I just decided to, imagine how it would be for Ash. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate the support. Make sure to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what Pokemon of Go would you like for Ash to, use, or even other Pokemon from his other companions that you would like for him to use. Like, if anything, that could be like a new tag video idea, like bring a Mon from every member of Ash's companions and try to make a team for Ash. I feel like Excadrill of Iris would have worked wonders for him. I already gave him a Politoed of Misty. Anyhow, thank you so much for the support, and I will see you another time. Kuro Blitz out.